you know, and the relationships that you've got with those people, and we find that just being genuine, you know, and that came a lot out of the Christchurch earthquakes. People started just being genuine, you know, and honest, started letting you into the queue of traffic. Christchurch, they used to just kind of ram you off into the gutter. Cyclists get to cycle in cycle lanes. It's a novelty in Christchurch. Cars that wanted to overtake on the inside. This is going to be a huge one. Competition for space. It's going to become real. You know, the blueprints. You know, people are bidding for the Avon River Park, greening the green frame. It's going to start happening. You know, there's going to become less space. Insurers are going to start settling. There's going to be less space to deal with. That people have got long-term. You know, sort of, I just do something and I'm still haggling. So that's all going to come online. What does that mean for us? And ultimately, I think it's going to push us out to the suburbs. Site selection, we've talked about that. Maintaining identity. You know, we get called gap filler all the time. It's a marketing thing, you know. Again, it's a growing up thing. Getting serious about what we're doing. You know, we are in a space where we need our own identity. That's what we leverage off. You know, that's what we go to people and ask for materials for. And I think it's just good to have more positive things being done. Here's the blueprint. You know, what starts happening when CERA or CCDU starts acquiring land? You know, half of that land in there are those red sites, or over half. Those are our sites, or potentially our sites. Or, you know, everyone becomes gun shy and protective, and you know, they won't let you do anything because one day it might be, you know, a public park. That's not the reality of it. We can get in and get out really quick, but it's just trying to get that level of communication. So if you're interested, greeningtherubble.org.nz, that's, you'll find pretty much all the photos and stuff that I've presented today. Facebook's another big one. Won't find me on there though. That's our chair, Judith, who's an ecologist. She's probably one of the more approachable people I've met in my life, so feel free to, I could have asked, but feel free to send me an email. And these are our guys that are on the ground. If you want to talk to people about the challenges of putting things on the ground, you know, send an email to particularly Reese. He's lived and breathed this thing for a long time. CC one of these guys in so the board ends up finding out about it. And, you know, happy to share information. A couple of acknowledgements there. That's the ESCO side. Yes, absolutely. There's a few other organisations that are there's actually a Greening the Rubble in Summit, which is not affiliated to Greening the Rubble, but they've done that because the suburbs have been subject to a lot of master planning and a bit more of a formal process, and as Cobus mentioned, kind of floats in and out depending on sort of development of the day. But they've started to, I think, increasingly feel a little bit sort of left out. And so a lot of those initiatives have cropped up there. And of course it's where they live, it's where they work. So there's all sorts of little bits and pieces floating around. And I think ultimately, you know, I was talking about where we might end up. I think ultimately one day we'll end up talking to those people about, you know, how we can mobilise, because we really do want to get out into the suburbs. We think that, you know, once the CBD starts to get really tied up, we're just going to happily kind of go that way. You know, the challenge for us is going to be if they let the money go, because it's all tied into the CBD revitalisation budgets. So.
But that's in terms of your organisation, like, you know, it's successful if people just go, oh, that's a good idea to start doing it down their own
of course, you know, and there's
street without, you know.
Absolutely, and there's other organisations like Rotary and community boards and things, so you know, it really is happening. I think sometimes I just find it a little bit difficult to mobilise, you know, and to have that weight behind them, to have, you know, materials and things like that. The goodwill and the energy is definitely there. There's no doubt about that.
How just curious about how the planning system has coped with it. Did they, or maybe not cope with it? Have they basically just given temporary consents each time, or no consents? Everybody's just going easy with it, not try to formalise it.
Yeah, the beauty about they've just, how do I put this? We try and avoid as many consent triggers as we possibly can. So excavation's a big thing. Yeah. We try and, instructions is another big thing.
Yeah.
But what we will do if we need it is have an informal agreement with council that, okay, we've got a structure here, we've had a structural engineer from Opus or someone, design it, it's not going to fall over. And they look at it and go, instead of it taking weeks, so yeah, that's done. But we haven't had to go through a formal consent process as of yet. Whether that starts to crop up as, again, things get back to sort of normal,